Hey everyone, we are going to keep building our SMB for is SMB Planner. So basically, it's a system for the entire company. We already built finance, CRM, recruiting, purchase, so procurement as well. And today we are going to add project management. And as always, the idea here is to build a solution but also make it build this in a way that's connected with the other apps inside this small business planner that we are building today. So, Cruz, I believe today we are also going to make a project process where we are going to use one of our newest features, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do today is creating a project management part of the platform. And this is going to be basically structured with two main parts, the project itself and what I'm going to call steps. It could be the project steps or phases or stages. Kind of depends on what you want to call them. But the idea is that you're going to have a main project and then later you're going to have it broken down into intervals, right? So you can have a first step that takes place from 1st of May to like the 7th of May and so on. So you have these periods of time, right? So you can have like this planning section in which you can define the project stages, steps, phases, and so on. And we're going to create this structure mainly to show two things. We're going to use a Gantt chart to be able to visualize the project's many steps, right, in a more visual sense. But we're also going to use our new feature, which is the connected table block inside the form, because this is going to give us a very nice way of seeing all of the steps of the project as soon as I open a card, right? This is going to be it's not as visual as a Gantt chart in the sense that the Gantt chart is kind of like a calendar, like a period calendar, right? But it's still very visual because you're going to be able to have a list of everything you have to do in a very concise manner and in a very interactive manner, right? So this is basically what we're going to do today, and we're going to have the Gantt chart, regular chart, a regular calendar as well, and we're going to see the projects as a Kanban board, right? So this is the main scope of today's building session. So if we think about the structure that I've just described, like I said, we have two main structures. We have two main tables. We're going to have projects, and then we're going to have project steps. So those are our two tables. We may also connect a project to a specific client. We have a client database. We may or may not. It kind of depends on how people would like to do this. But those are our two main structures. And then we have three app pages, which is basically the main Kanban board, the Gantt chart, and then later on a dashboard, right? So this is what we're going to build today. So to start things off, we're going to create a table for the projects. There you go. So I'm going to call this like keep the same naming scheme that we've been using in the past live streams. I'm going to call this projects SMB. And then we have to think about the structure that we want in this project, right? So we have a title. Okay, this is the main field of the table. It comes by default. I think I also want a description field, which is going to be a text field that is set up to be rich text, so we can have formatting, we can have longer texts, and so on. So this is a description of our project. If we think about other things, we can always change this later, right? But we're going to have attachments for the project itself. So maybe we have some briefing documents that we want to attach to this, and we're going to have owners, right? Which is going to be a multiple user field, right? So owners, there you go. We could have more fields here. I'll think about it a little bit more later on. Uh, but one thing that we want here as well is I'm going to create a tasks view, which is basically a mirror to the task feature. So this is going to allow us to, in the Kanban board, look at a project card and see from the cover how many tasks there are for that specific project, right? So it's just a shortcut to see the information. The same thing with chat. This is basically a mirror to the chat function, so I can see how many comments there are in the card and how many times I have been mentioned and so on. One thing that I forgot to do, I'm going to create a image field which can be used as a cover for the project itself in the Kanban board. And the last thing that I'm going to do here is create a single option field, which is basically going to be used to set up the stages for the Kanban board, right? So we have the stages. So for a project, I probably have a stage called planned, right? So whenever I start, I plan a new project, but it hasn't started yet. This is going to be in the plan phase. I can have a, oops, in progress stage as well, and I can have a finished stage. We could have more stages. This kind of depends on how you tackle things in your company, but you can always change this later. I'm also going to add a stage called archived because sometimes you may abandon a project, but you don't want to delete the information because maybe you've done some stuff, so maybe it's only like paused or something like this, and you don't want to lose the data, delete things. Because deleting things, you would lose all the comments, you will lose the connected information, you will lose the history. So we're going to create a stage for archive, so you can just move the project there if you don't feel it's necessary to tackle that project anymore. Cool. So these are the stages that I'm going to use for this part of the process, right? You could add more. We can change this later. I always like to remind this. This is not fixed, right? And one thing that I'm already going to do is I'm going to activate the SLA feature, right? Because in this scenario, we're going to have the project steps, and the project steps are going to have the date intervals. So we kind of have like a history there as well. But sometimes the project may go from plan to in progress, it may go back to plan, it may be archived, it may be sent back to in progress. So you want to keep this information, right? So afterwards you can look at it and see that you started a project in May, but then you archived, and then now it's September and you went back to tackle this project. So you have this history, you have this information. So SLA is still going to be a good feature to be activated here, right? So I'm going to create this. There you go. And this is all I'm going to do for now. The only thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to uh, just fill in some example information, right? So maybe I have a project for like review finance records for a client or something like this. So I can have this description as well. I'm going to be the owner here. So I'm just filling out example information, and this is planned. And the last thing that I'm going to do here is that I'm going to get a cover image, just so you guys can see what it looks like if I use this in the Kanban board, right? So copy image. I'm just going to open this. There you go. So I have all the example information that I need here, and we can go back to this. Okay, perfect. So we have the main structure of the project, right? Like I said, we could have more information. We could have a more complex data structure. We could have dates. We could have to-do lists. We could have other things, but so far it's going to suffice. Now we go to the second part of the structure, the new table, which is going to be the project steps, right? So I'm going to call this steps SMB, right? So there's a title for this step. There is a description as well, because we may not be able to convey all of the information that we want just by the title alone. Um, just as we did for the main part of the project, we're going to add attachments. We're going to add owners. Oops, users. We're going to add status. So it's going to be single option. This is also going to be plan in progress. Finished. There you go. Just changing the colors here. And like I said before, for the steps, we're also going to have a date interval, right? We're going to have a start date and we're going to have an end date. And this is going to be used for the Gantt chart when we start doing things. So we're going to create a date field here, which is going to be the start. We're going to select a format and we're going to create this. And we're going to add an end date as well. You can select more types of formats here. This is something that I kind of gloss over when I'm building stuff, so I kind of forget to mention this. But you can have many date formats for a date field, right? So if you're in the USA, you're going to use month, date, year. But we also have other types of formats if you're in other parts of the world, right? So Europe is going to use date, month, year. I think Japan uses year, month, day, and so on. So we have other kinds of formats here. This is not going to impact automations and so on. This is just for the user, and you can even actually have it spelled out, right? So you can have as a text. So this is just something that I forget to mention every time I use a date field because I'm so used to it. But this is kind of important because a lot of platforms don't allow for this. And sometimes you have a process, for example, in which just your European part of the company uses, so you can change the date just for them, for example. Or maybe you have European customers and you want to have a separate process for them and so on. Cool. So now we have the start date and we have the end date. And one thing that we have to do to use the Gantt chart is we're going to create this field called date range. And this date range is nothing more than a mirror to the start and end field, right? So basically, I just have to select which field here I'm going to use as the start, which field I'm going to use here as the end. And you're going to see that when I create this, if I fill out the start, it's going to automatically fill out the date range, right? Because it's just a mirror, right? But it's a cool mirror because it's easier to see this, right? And also, if I use the date range field directly, like this, it's going to fill out the start and end dates as well. And the range field is cool because you have this you have this calendar in which you can select the interval directly, right? So you don't have to select the start date and then click on the end date and so on. So it's pretty useful for that. So cool. Let's just fill out some information here. So we have the structure. I'm going to add myself as the owner of some of the steps and this other user for the other steps as well. And one thing that we forgot to do is if we have steps, we have to inform the database of which project those steps belong to, right? So I'm going to add a connection field. A connection field is a field that allows me to select a record from a different table. So I created a database, a table for the projects themselves. So now I can select them here by selecting the project's SMB database, right? And I'm going to call this field project, right? Uh, I could filter stuff, but I don't need to in this process. I could also sort them. I'm going to sort them alphabetically because it makes it a little bit easier to find stuff. And I can change the icon and color here. So maybe let's see. I think that this is a cool icon for a project, for example. So let's use it. And for this project part, I'm going to use red. Maybe I change this later, or kind of orange. I think it looks better. Okay, there you go. Let's create this. So now I created the connection and I can come here and say that this step belongs to the project review finance records, for example, right? There you go. I'm going to make this a little bit darker so the contrast kicks in. There you go. I think it looks a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm saying that this project belongs to those steps belong to this project review finance records, and I'm just going to name these steps just so we have some information here. So if you think about it, review finance records, I have gather finance records, uh, go through docs with CPA, and draft report. So these are the steps. It's kind of like tasks, but they are going to have durations, right? So this is you could have other examples here, but cool. We have the structure now. We have the steps, and we have the projects like this, right? So before we start building the app itself, the interface in which you're going to have the Kanban boards and the other things, right? I'm going to set up the forms already because I don't think we're going to need to do any additional changes to them. And we're going to change the forms in the tables. If you're following us through the other live streams that we did, you already know this. But if this is the first video you're checking out, the idea of forms in Jestor is that forms are not just public forms, external facing forms. So when we say forms, people usually think about tools like Google Forms, Typeform, and so on. We also have those. We have public forms. So you could create a public form for a client, for a job applicant, for vendors, and so on. But forms in Jestor are also about the data handling of the platform. And what I mean by this is when I click here on new role, when I create a record, this is also considered a form, right? This is a creation form in the platform. When I open a record here, this on the left part is also considered a form. So this is also an internal platform in the platform, internal form in the platform. So this is an update form, right? So those are also configurable. So we're going to customize them. And all we have to do is click here on forms, and we're going to change the forms of the tables, right? So I'm going to click here on edit record creation form, and this is going to change this one when I try to create a new project, right? So I'm going to do a side panel. So when I click here, this is going to go here from the right side, just to show you guys. Looks like this. Okay, so let's customize this further. So the title for this form is new project. The description is going to be use this form to plan a new project. And we could add a cover and a logo. I'm not going to do this. We did this in other live streams, in other usages of forms. So I'm going to skip this for now. So now I have to select all the fields that I want people to be able to use when creating a new project, right? So I want them to select to write the title. I want them to select to write the description. I want them to send attachments. I want them to set up the owners. For tasks and chat, this is like just mirrors of things that you create later, so it doesn't make sense to use them here. So I'm going to remove them. And I also want people to be able to select the stage in which the project is created. I'm going to move the cover up all the way to the top, right? And I think this is it. But one thing that I wanted to share, guys, is that if you click on this icon here, this pencil here, you can change some things in the fields. So you could, for example, add descriptions, and you can make fields required. And you can also add predefined values. And we're going to use them in two manners here. For example, for the stage, I want the stage to have a predefined value of plan. So when people click here, it's already pre-selected as plan, right? I'm going to leave this here because maybe someone is already creating a project in progress, for example. So I'm not going to change this. So let's go back to the customization. I'm also going to change the style of the field. But one other thing that I can do with predefined values, which people don't seem uh, to think about a lot, is that you can also use the predefined value to give some structure here, some text here. So, for example, for the description, I can, for example, say briefing example, and then I can go something like, what are we trying to achieve? And then people can follow this structure later, right? So if I click here on save, you all guys are going to see that this field is pre-filled with the structure that I've created, right? I think we have a text here in the chat. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we have a comment here. Hi guys, this just popped up in my feed. I'm a computer science undergrad who's going to start SMMA, and you guys are doing a bang good job. Gonna watch the first 4 videos for sure. So I'd like to thank you. We have a lot of videos. This series specifically is about creating kind of like a general purpose planner, a system for a small, medium-sized business. But we have a lot of other use cases as well. I would like to thank you for commenting. And if you have any suggestions, if there's anything you'd like to see during live streams or features and so on, we always encourage people to send them here in our videos. We always pay attention to the comments. And also, one thing that we'd like to say is that because we're doing something more focused on small, medium-sized business, there's a lot of advanced features that we don't get much into detail. Like, for example, the low-code features, which allow you to program automations. There's the advanced permissioning, in which you can create access levels. So there's a lot more of the platform that you can delve into. We're not going to get into them in this series, I think, but we are going to have other videos for those more advanced features. So
We
thank you for
also
the comment.
have like videos for specific features, so Kanban, tables, chat, and so on. If you want to check it out, there's like a playlist only with feature by feature explanation or demonstration as well.
Exactly. So moving on, you can see that this now looks like this is what the form looks like when I try to create a new project. I'm going to just edit styling now. I'm going to remove the form responses. For the people who don't know what form responses is basically a feature that allows you to receive a copy of what you submitted through the form. This is going to be an internal form, so I don't need that. So I'm going to toggle this off. I'm going to change the colors. So the background color of the form is going to be white. The title background is also going to be white. And I'm going to use the same orange here as the button and make a smaller title, save, and this is what it looks like now. So it looks pretty nice, right? So now what we can do is the same thing for this part when I open the record, right? So we can even customize the number of panels that are going to be open. You can see that there are 4 panels here. So I'm going to edit this as well. We can select the tools that we have available in this process. I want chat, I want task, I want SLA. The other ones, not so much. So I'm just going to remove them. And I'm going to use a wider form. And why we're going to use a wider form is it's because of the steps, right? We're going to add the steps to the form itself. So let's edit the form. The title is going to be the name of the project itself when I open. So the name of the project is going to appear up here. This is what this toggle does, right? No description, I don't need it. So when I open an ongoing project, I want to see the title, I want to see the description, attachments, owners, and so on. I'm going to remove these. I'm going to make the stage button-like I did before, so everything is going according to plan here. And I'm just going to remove the form responses, and I'm going to change the colors here. Button color, there you go, and title background, maybe like this one. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. Okay, so this is the project form. But one thing that I want to be able to do here is that I want to be able to see the project steps from within the card itself, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to the form and I'm going to add a form block. For those who don't know form blocks in Jestor, in the context of Jestor, a form block is something that is not a field. It's not something where you input information directly, but form blocks add features, functionalities, usability things to your form, right? For example, inline allows you to group fields together side by side. You can add sections. You could even add a YouTube video to the body of the form, right? But the feature we're interested in right now is what we call connected table. And if you guys recall what we did in steps, the step has a connection field to the project, right? So this means that a project can have many steps attached to it. And this allows us to use this connected table block, which is going to show all of the steps that are connected to this project, right? So we're going to call this steps. A quick summary of the project's steps. Oops. There we go. And we're going to view this as a table, and we're going to add the steps table. And you can see that the platform automatically detects which tables have connection to this guy here, right? So now I have to select which fields I want to be able to see. I want to see the title of the step. I want to see who created it. I want to see the description, the attachments, the owner, the status. I'm going to remove start and end date. I'm just going to leave the date range here. And the project is useless because if I'm looking in at the steps inside the project card from this feature, it means the project is the project that I'm looking at. So this is just like superfluous information at this point, right? So I'm going to sort them, the steps by start date, and I'm going to show the things that start first up top, right? So in ascending sorting by start date. And there you go. I'm going to create this, and this is how it looks like. It's down here. I forgot to place it up top, right? So I have all of the steps here, right? So I can see all of the steps of this specific project. if I want to give it some more um uh, like highlight this, I can change the color of this table as well. So let's just go back to this. I'm going to move this a little bit up top here, and I can also change the color. For example, I can make it a dark gray, and it's going to look like this. See, I'm going to leave it a little bit lighter. It's just to show you guys that you can highlight it in a way if you want to. There you go. Okay, so when I create a new project, this is what it looks like. So when I look at a project here, this is what it looks like as well. One thing that I forgot to do is I'm going to create a button to add steps. It's this add connected. This allows me to create a record in a connected table, right? So I'm going to be able to create records in the steps table. So I'm going to call this add step. And it will look like this. So when I click here on steps, there you go. It allows me to create a step connected to the project I'm on, right? So this is the form for, this is all we're going to do in projects for now. So we're going to go back to the steps. I'm just going to change the label of this. I don't want SMB here. There you go. Oops, add step. There you go. So now I'm going to go back to the step database, and we're going to customize the forms just like we did with the other one. This is going to be even simpler. So new step, use this form to add a new step to the project. So title, description, attachments, owners. We're going to have the date range. So, and the date range is going to be right next to the owner. So we're going to use an inline block for this. And the project is going to be up here. There you go. We're going to remove the responses and customize the colors. There you go. So when I try to create a new step, this is what it looks like. The status shouldn't be here. I messed something up, so let me see. Up down here, and like we did before, we're going to give it a predefined value of planned. There you go. Looks a little bit better now. Okay, so now for the update form, and this is the final form that we're going to use here. We may have chat, tasks. I don't want the SLA, email, connected data, and so on. So now we're also going to see this as a right side window, a right side panel, because I think there's not too much information here. So we can just do this. And like we're just going to use the same formatting that we did before, right? So there you go. Inline and status. There you go. And we're going to change the colors. Cool. So now if we open a step, this is what it looks like. So it looks quite nice. I can see the step, I can see the date range, I can see the owners, and so on. Okay, so now that we have the structures and the forms, all we have to do is the interface, right? And when I say all we have to do is interface, it sounds like a lot of stuff, but usually creating the structure, creating the database is where you're going to spend more time, because you want to ensure that everything is connected correctly. You want to ensure you have the correct data types. You're thinking about the structure. And creating the interface itself, the apps themselves is actually quite quick, right? So we're going to add a new blank app, and you guys are going to see that this is way faster than creating the structure. I'm going to customize the color. I'm going to add a light background here. I'm going to disable page scrolling. This page is going to be called projects SMB, and this is going to be the Kanban board, right? I'm going to change the icon as well. There you go. So this is going to be the Kanban board. So I just have to select the Kanban board. It's going to create one automatically for me. I'm going to make it full screen. And I have to say, where is this Kanban board pulling information from? And this is quite simple. It's the project database that I just created. And I have to select which field is going to be used as stage, right? So it's the stage field, right? So there you go. You can see that this is already reflecting information from the database that I just created, right? So now I have to select the fields that are going to appear on the front-facing part of the card, right? So for example, I want to see the owners. I want to see the tasks and chat, if there's anything, if there are comments here, if there are tasks to this project, and so on. And one thing that I can do here is add the button for adding a new step here. And also I can add the cover image, and this cover image is interesting because if I select this cover part, you can see that the image is right here, right? One thing that yeah, no, this looks hard. So the image is right here. So if I click on this, it would expand and so on. But if I add this cover image all the way up to the top, it's going to actually be a cover image, right? So it's going to have this nice effect showing the image up here. And one other thing that people usually don't realize is that if I remove the other fields and leave only the image, it's going to have this effect where all of the card itself is the image that I selected, right? But I don't want this for this process. It's just an observation, so you guys know that this exists, right? So there you go. We could sort this alphabetically by creation and so on. So I'm not going to change this. I'm going to change the color of the card itself. So it's going to be white. I'm going to change the size of the card. It's going to be smaller. There you go. And I think this is it. I'm going to use the forms from the tables, which are the ones I set up in the tables directly, right? So what this means is now when I click on this, it's using the form that I set up before, right? So this is looking quite nicely now. Okay, so a couple of things for this page. We're nearly done. We're going to add a title bar. And the reason we use title bars here is because it gives us two things that we think it's pretty useful. One thing is that it's giving us this button to create a new card somewhere. And we're going to use this to create new projects, right? So new project. We're going to use the form from the database. And there you go. So when I click on this button, it summons the form that I set up before, right? And one other thing that this title bar gives me is the ability to add a custom filter here. And the way that I'm going to create a custom filter is by creating this search filter component here, this block, which I'm going to call custom filter. And we're going to just create a filter button. The filter type is going to be flexible filter. Flexible filter is a filter that you create on the go, as opposed to quick filters in which you can select like a user, a field from the table, and so on. So this filter is going to be based on the project SMB table, and then it's going to filter this Kanban board, right? So I'm going to create this, the only filter that I'm going to create here. And now I edit the title bar, go all the way to the bottom and select the filter that I just created. And when I save, it looks like this, right? So I can create a filter, I can add a new project, I can search for things, for example, review. And this is going to search the cards here. So this looks exactly how I want this to look. Okay, we're going to build the page for the Gantt chart now. So we're going to create a new blank app, and we're going to customize the color just like we did before. And we're going to call this Gantt projects SMB. And what we're going to do is we're going to search for the Gantt chart. It's this one. And we're going to use this chart to look at the steps, right? So we're going to call this Gantt. It's going to look at the steps. And we're going to see the date range, right? This is what we're going to monitor. And we can add a colors. This is optional, but we can use a single option field to color the bar of the Gantt chart. So we're going to use the status field. Each status has a color, and this is going to be used as the color for the bars themselves. So for now, I'm going to create, just so you guys see what it looks like, right? I'm going to create this Gantt chart. And there you go. We have this kind of the Gantt chart. For those who are not aware or not familiar, it's kind of like a timeline based calendar, right? So you have like steps, you can have bars and so on. They could overlap here. They could right now I've just created steps that are not using the same time frames, but they could. I could like drag here and so on. I'm not going to do this. So this is a traditional Gantt chart, right? But one thing that we can do here is that we can now add a side table to this Gantt chart. And this is going to allow us to see more information here to the side, right? So for example, I may want to have the, where it is, the project. I may want to have the date range, the owners, and I don't think the title is necessary. So these fields, this information is going to appear to the side. There you go. So now I have this side table, so I know exactly which project this step belongs to. I know the owners, I know the date range, and so on. Of course, the date range is apparent here to the side, but maybe you want to just look at it and see at a glance the start and end date, so you don't have to think about it. So you can add this here. You can also change how you're looking at it, if it's month by month, quarter by quarter, year, and so on. So we're going to look this at on a monthly basis. There you go. This is the time frame. Okay, and one last thing that I want to show you guys here in the Gantt chart is that I can sort them. Usually, we're going to sort this by the start date. You can either sort them ascending, so the earlier bars are going to be up top, and the latter bars are going to be on the bottom. If I do this, this is the order, right? The earliest bars are up here. The latter bars are here. But one thing that we can do here is we could do the inverse. Now it looks like this. So you kind of have this flexibility. You can make the Gantt chart appear just as you like. Traditionally, you're going to do the thing we did before, right? You're going to do this ascending. But you could actually like sort your Gantt chart alphabetically or by owner or by any other thing. So it's up to you. Traditionally, you usually want to look like this, right? So here we can do the same thing that we did for the Kanban board, right? We're going to add a title bar. So we can have the creation buttons here. But instead of adding a project, if here in the Gantt I'm seeing the steps, maybe I want this button to add steps, so I can change this as well. So new step. I'm going to use the form from the table, and it looks like this. There you go. I can create a new step, select the project, and so on. And now I'm going to create a custom filter as well. And there you go. Filter. So this is a flexible filter based on the steps table that filters the Gantt chart. And one thing that I could do is have a project quick filter. So I can select a project and see just the steps for that specific project, right? So the type of filter here is going to be record ID. This filter allows me to select a record from a different table. And there you go. Oh, it's projects. So I'm going to be able to see projects, select projects from the projects database, and it's going to filter the Gantt chart by project. One last filter that I'm going to create here is a owner field. Just to show you guys, the type of filter here is users. I'm going to be able to select the users. And there you go. It's going to filter the Gantt chart by owners as well. I'm going to create this, added the title bar. The filter was created all the way down here, but I can just pin it to the title bar. So now it looks like this, right? I have this filter, which I selected the wrong color, but I can change this in a minute. I can select a project, so it's going to filter the information for that specific project, and I can select a owner. You can see here that I'm the owner for 2 of those tabs, and there's this other user. So if I select the other user, it's going to filter the information here, right? So we have a very functional Gantt chart here. And one thing that we don't end up doing in these live streams, because it's a little bit more um, not as advanced, it's more like simpler templates, is that we could have a Gantt chart and we could have a like bar chart and a pie chart up down here. We could have indicators, we could have other components. You don't have to have just one thing on your screen, but just for optimization purposes here and for simplification purposes, we're just adding one component by page, right? And the last thing that I'm going to do is create a blank app. This is going to be the dashboard for projects. So we're not going to add a lot of stuff here. We can change this later, but I'm going to call this dashboard projects SMB. We can change this later. Let's see, we can have indicators. So I'm going to create an indicator. So it can be the open projects. So I'm going to look at projects. I'm going to count the number of projects and add a filter. So what's an open project? It's a project where the stage is planned or in progress, for example. So I'm going to add this, and the color of the indicator is going to be this one. So I have one open project, right? I can do the same thing here. I'm going to clone this block just for it's a little bit quicker than setting up from the get-go. And we can do the same thing called open steps, right? So instead of looking at projects, we have steps. We're going to count them, and the filter is steps where status is planned or in progress. There you go. So we only have two open steps right now. We're going to add pie charts just to show you guys that it's possible. We're going to add a pie chart here. And this is going to be projects by stage. So I'm going to look at projects by stage and count the number of projects. I'm going to look at this as a pie chart instead of a donut, and I'm going to remove the intermediary strokes here. Save. There you go. I'm going to clone this. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of projects, I'm going to do steps by stage. There you go. We're going to look at this by status. Oops, it's status here. And same thing here. I'm going to save this. There you go. So this is what it looks like. And one last thing that I'm going to do is, just so this looks a little bit better, I'm going to change the background color so it's white. So there is a little bit of contrast here. There you go. And the last component that I'm going to create is a table component. And this one is going to be pretty nice because what I can do here is, let's see here. Let me see. There we go. I'm going to do this. So this is going to be kind of like a report, right? Which is looking at projects. So I can select the fields here, the title, the description, the cover, owners, attachments, task, chat, and stage. I can reorder this. So the cover is here. Actually, it's here. Stage is the last. So I think this looks okay. Yeah, there you go. So this is what it looks like. Those are all the projects, right? I'm going to call this project history or project log. I think it sounds a little bit better. I can sort them alphabetically or by order of creation. By default is order of creation, right? So I'm not going to change that. I can remove the grid lines. I can remove the field icons here. And one thing that I can do now is I'm going to make this read only, and I'm going to click here on show connected records so I can see the steps as well. And I have the title, description, owners, attachment, date range. Yep, there we go. And I think this is it, the status. There you go. So I can add this, and what this does is, now if you look at this, I can just click here and I will be able to see all of the steps for that project as well, right? So this is a very simple dashboard. It could be different, right? You could customize it further. You could have more components. You could have more stuff here. So we encourage you to change this later. But this is just an example, right? So the last thing that we have to do here is go back to the project's main page, the Kanban board here, and I'm going to add a top bar, just like we did for the other parts of the platform, right? So we're going to change the color. We're going to make the style custom icons. And this is going to be the Gantt chart and the dashboard for the projects. There you go. So we can, there you go. And we can change the icons, right? So the icon for this one is going to be this one, and it's going to change here. The Gantt chart is going to be a calendar, and the dashboard is going to be chart. And I'm going to remove the shortcuts. There we go. So it looks like this, and I can cycle between them. There you go. And when I open this, here are the steps, and so on. So now all I have to do is go back to the home page and add all I created to this menu, right? Projects SMB. There you go. You can save this. And this is what it looks like. I just have to refresh my screen. So now when I click here on projects, I have a project here, right? I can look at a Gantt chart so I can see the steps. If I open the project, I have here the steps as well and information about the project. I could also add tasks here um, for planning and so on. And I have the dashboard. So let's test this out. So we're going to have a new project, which is going to be called Redesign Website. Briefing example, what we're trying to achieve, a more enterprise focused website, for example. Uh, the other person is going to be the owner, and it's going to go to plan. There you go. This is the card. Can move to in progress, and I can create steps, right? So we have to first uh, do something like review logo, right? And I can add a date range. So it's going to start on Monday to Friday. The owner is going to be this other person, and I can create this, create the step. If I open this, oops, there you go. If I open this, here's the step that I just created. In the Gantt chart, it appears here. Review logo branding. If I select a project here, redesign website, just this step. If I go to the other one, review finance records, all of the steps here, and I have the project dashboard, right? So this is what it looks like. I can open here and see the steps as well. And I can also color, give it a little bit of a highlight here. So for example, there you go. So I think this is mainly what we were trying to achieve today. Of course, if we open this record, there's not too much information here. We could add more fields. We could have more information here if it's useful to you. You can always just go here to the database and keep adding the fields of information that you want to. Same thing for the steps. But this is a very neat way to organize the projects, right? I just create a project, assign owner, create steps. I can look at if a project is supposed to have started already, how I'm doing, which are the next steps. I can see the dashboard and so on. So all in all, I think that it's a already a good way to start managing projects, is especially if you're not using any tool right now, if you're doing things by spreadsheets or mainly emails and so on. So this is going to help you organize things. So I think this is it. Bruno, is there anything else you'd like to show them?
No, I think that's great. Like the idea here is to show how can we add a project, app or a project, product inside our small business planner, and that's the idea. We are going to keep building this next week. So if you guys want to uh, know about the next videos and ask questions, ask for a specific process, automation, or so on, just leave it in the comments and we'll be back here next week. Thank you guys. See you.